Well, hello, friends. My name is Amy Stone, and in January, I launched the Art of Imperfect Adulting. Today, I want to give you a little bit more of the story of why I started this show and how it's going. I am a person who's always curious for a peek behind the curtain and how the creators I follow are making the things they make and whether or not it's working. And you can let me know if you find this interesting as well. A little bit of boring data to start. There are 2.7 million podcasts out there, and about 400,000 of them are actively producing content. So that comes from a company named Raphonic. If you're curious about my source, I didn't just make it up. The obvious question is, does the world actually need another show, Amy? Undoubtedly not. Next question, who am I and why would anyone listen? I think I'm pretty great, but these are fair questions. In fact, who cares is probably the most important question that I am asking myself. Looking around now in 2025, I see a lot of people asking the question of what am I supposed to be doing right now? What am I supposed to be doing next? What action am I supposed to be taking? And I'm noticing this across a lot of different age groups. So younger people, older people, midlife people, and also across a lot of different categories. So people are asking this with regard to their education, with regard to their profession, their relationships, their family status, their housing, their money, their mental health. I don't mean to be implying that people are asking me this question all the time. I'm just saying I see this question popping up all over the place. And one of the things that's strange to me about this is that there's not actually a shortage of answers or information today. In fact, like no other time, maybe ever in history, you can ask a question just kind of into space, into social media, into online forums, into your phone, into AI platforms, and you will get responses immediately. I actually think the bigger question is how can we know if an answer is right for us? How can you know if the answer you get is right for you? And I think that maybe probably this is one of the things that is creating frustration for a lot of people because it's not really all that hard to get a bunch of answers. It's very hard to know whether or not the answer is the right one. I actually call this the hill I might die on. Before I take advice from anybody, I'm probably going to ask, hey, listen, how do you know? What's your experience in this situation? I am a person who knows that I don't know everything. I never will. I have not had every experience that people will go through. I'm not like, a person who's all that. At times, I have felt like this is an obstacle for being able to talk about different topics, and sometimes it can be. Sometimes people call this imposter syndrome. I think it can also just be called being honest. Some of the most helpful advice that I've ever received as a person is sometimes from regular people who simply have experience with what I'm trying to do, and they are willing to share their stories about their experience. Like I said before, it's both easier and harder in 2025 to find good information, and it's both easier and harder to connect with the right people. Part of the reason I am trying to create this show is to be a conduit to help with that, right? Now, when you're starting a new project, pretty much all the advice, and it's good advice. I do think this is good advice, says to test your idea before you launch it. So believe it or not, I had 100 conversations on purpose, 100 about the concept before I started doing anything. Maybe I'm just stubborn. That's definitely a possibility. Or as we say in a positive way, I've got grit. The people giving feedback, many of them weren't actually in the arena where I'm playing. They are not doing their business and their experience is not in what I'm creating. And so I do run it through that same filter. It's like, all right, this might be good feedback, but also it's not a one-to-one match. When you are looking for people who can help you do something and you're looking for someone who has experience doing what you've done, it can be hard to find those people. So when I'm asked, what should I do? Or when I ask somebody, hey, what do you think I should do? It is my opinion that sometimes the most helpful answer is actually, would you like to know what I did in a similar situation? Or would you like to know what I've seen work in other situations, right? Those are examples of experiences. They are case studies. They are stories of real people. I have a couple of these stories from my own life. Okay. I've got lots of stories. I happen to really like my stories. I think they're funny, sarcasm being my native language. But I'm just one person with one life, and I've only had the experiences that I've had. So my question became that what would happen if I could gather stories from real people around across a wide variety of experiences in life, telling how they've made choices and how those choices have changed their lives. If I do that, then would others want to listen? And if so, how many people would tune in? Who cares matters more than my affection for the idea of imperfect adulting. This only works if people find it helpful and entertaining. It only works if I can build an audience. We just finished the first quarter of 2025, and the good news is, from my perspective, it looks like a few people might care. If you're watching this, maybe that includes you. This is absolutely a build the plane while flying project. So it means that I'm putting it out in the world, and at the same time, I'm gathering feedback about whether or not it's working. I'm really trying hard to keep my ego in check and build something that's not only something that I enjoy doing, but also something that an audience wants. The early data might be encouraging. All right, so we've got over 400 people who have pitched themselves to be guests on the show. For a show that is just me, I think that's pretty exciting. On the other hand, I have to admit, it's possible that means nothing. One of the weird metrics about podcasts that has come up in my research of launching is that the data becomes much more significant at 100 episodes. I've recorded 78 episodes as I write this. The other thing that is true about podcasts, if I'm going to be honest, is that tracking audience data is not super easy. I don't think that's unique to podcasts. I really kind of think that that's something that is also true for other kinds of media. You get some data, but you don't really know if it's right. But podcast metrics are notoriously decentralized, and so they are pretty unreliable. And anybody who tells you anything else, my advice would be to check their pants because they might be on fire. Everywhere I'm tracking, though, everything is growing every single day. So I'm very excited about that. It's fun to see the numbers go up. I have always believed that when we share our stories, whatever they might be, of moving from stuck to unstuck, from feeling like we've screwed up to making a decision and moving forward towards a better life, of feeling isolated to creating connection, it is in sharing those stories that we sometimes create something very powerful. And that's what the Art of Imperfect Adulting is about to me. Real stories from real people figuring things out, sometimes messily, but everything is moving forward. So this is where you get to share your feedback. Is this the kind of show that you want? And also, if you're feeling a little feisty, you can let me know if you like this solo behind the scenes update, because then I'll make more of those.